Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for today's Sunday feast. So we will start off with a small bhajan, which is Jai Radha Madhava, and then we will have a discussion from the Bhagavad Gita about the glories of the holy name. So maybe you can project Jai Radha Madhava, and then we can start our program. Can I get a card? Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Mahaprabhu Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Narahari Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Narahari Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya 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 Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Nitya Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gora Hari Bol Nitya Gora Hari Bol Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Srila Prabhupada ki So we'll read the Mangalacharan before reading from the Bhagavad Gita. So if you can project the Mangalacharan prayers. So we'll chant it together. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Nilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Hayyam Dati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurur Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Sya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhye Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyamadi Pashadhyadhisthani. So welcome. Thank you all for coming for today's Sunday Feast program. So I thought we will discuss from the, we'll just read a section, a purport from the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita from 10.10. Chapter 10, verse number 10. Of course, this is part of the Chaturasloki Gita, which is basically the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So these 4 verses, sorry, it's 10.9. Let's do 10.9, which is, this is part of the Chaturasloki Gita, which is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, which is given in as 4 verses. It starts from 10.8 and then 10.9, 10.10 and 10.11. These are the 4 verses which you don't have to go to 10.8. We'll read 10.9. I'll just summarize. This forms the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, Krishna says in the 10.8, Aham sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvitaha. So he says, I am the source, I'm the source of everything, material and spiritual, and those who know this without any doubt, they worship me with all their hearts. So why this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita? Of course, the first verse talks about the supremacy of Krishna. And then the next verse, which is 10.9, it talks about how a devotee actually responds. A devotee, when he or she knows that how Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, the source of everything, then how a devotee responds. So this is 10.9, which is Madchitta Madgata Prana Bodhiyanta Parasparam Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanticha Ramanticha. So the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So this is how the devotees respond. When one completely understands that Krishna being the absolute truth and the divine source of everything, then one actually engages completely in devotional service to the Lord, fully dedicating their lives to His devotional service, and all they are enlightening one another, conversing about Krishna with great satisfaction. Of course, the next 2 verses, talks about how Krishna reciprocates with the devotees, actually, who are completely engaged, who are completely absorbed in Him, who are engaged in thinking about Him and serving Him and loving Him and always talking about Him and making Krishna the center of their life. So how does Krishna reciprocate with these devotees? And the next 2 verses actually Krishna talks about Krishna's reciprocation with these devotees. And that of course goes on to show how Krishna is so kind to His devotees. And that's the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, is that Krishna is the absolute truth, and devotees are completely engaged in devotional service. And what is their relationship? How does Krishna reciprocate, and how does devotees reciprocate to? So it's a loving exchange between the devotees and the Supreme Lord. And so the next 2 verses, of course, Krishna talks about His own mercy to His devotees, which is Tesham Satati Yuktanam Bhajatam Pratipurvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mam Upiyantite. So I give them an intelligence by which they can come to me. And then Tesham Evanakam Kap Paratam Aham Agyana Jam Tamaha Nashyami Atma Bhavasto Jnana Deepena Bhashvata. So those who are fully devoted to me, Krishna says, I within their heart destroy the ignorance within the heart by lighting the lamp of transcendental knowledge. So this is Krishna's reciprocation to His devotees. So I thought we'll read this verse 10.9, which actually talks about pure devotees of the Lord and some of the symptoms of the pure devotees of the Lord. Of course, some of us were there, fortunate enough to be there in the yatra which Vaisheshika Prabhu took. Some of the devotees were also here, Mukarand Prabhu, Adinand Krishna Prabhu, some of them were also there, and we were also fortunate to be there with the group. And of course, I was there only for the first part of the group, first part of the yatra. So the first part of the yatra we covered, Jagannath Puri, all the holy places in Jagannath Puri, and it's such a, very blissful yatra covering so many holy places within Jagannath Puri. And the second half was actually Govardhan. I didn't go to the second part, but we went to the first part, and it was such a beautiful experience with Vaisheshika Prabhu and all the wonderful devotees actually who were attending the yatra. Of course, I chose this verse because we visited many of the holy places, and especially for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it's a very important tirtha, which is Jagannath Puri, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent the last 18 years of his life, the second part of majority of the second half of his life in Jagannath Puri along with his devotees. And one of the devotees, one of the places we visited, of course there are many places we visited. We visited the Tota Gopinath temple, which is actually a very well-known temple in the Gaudiya Vaishnava circle, which is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually would frequently visit, and then he would hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, he would hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit, and then that is a place where actually Mahaprabhu found the Gopinath deity as he was digging into the sand. And then he found a deity, and then he gifted it to Gadadhar Pandit and asked him to actually take care of the deity. So we visited that temple. Of course, as Gadadhar Pandit would recite the Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahaprabhu would again and again hear some sections of the Bhagavatam, which is Prahlad Maharaj pastimes and then Dhruv Maharaj pastimes. He would ask him to repeat it again and again. And so that is one of the places we visited. And then we visited the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. That is also a very very important place where actually this is where of course a lot of dealings between Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu happened. Of course, this is where actually Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya got Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fainted after seeing Lord Jagannath from the Jagannath temple, he actually brings him here. And then this is where he then feeds all the devotees. And then just to summarize, he actually thinks that he has to protect Mahaprabhu because Mahaprabhu is very young and he's taken sannyas and he is so beautiful. So he thinks that he has to protect, and as a service, what he does is basically he gives a 7-day discourse on the Vedanta Sutra from an impersonal viewpoint, so that Mahaprabhu can be very strict in his sannyas. Of course, Mahaprabhu just sits quietly and listens to the whole thing without asking any questions. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, at the end of the 7th day, he's wondering, what is going on in your mind? Do you have any questions? Do you have any? I've been speaking for so long. So what is? Do you have any doubts? And that's when Mahaprabhu then tells him actually what you're, it's what you're speaking is not the direct meaning of the Vedanta. It's some illusory meaning of the Vedanta Sutra. And then he goes on to explain about Hare Krishna, the Atmarama verses, and there's a discussion there. And finally, when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya actually fully understands that he's a supreme personality of Godhead, and then comes out of the Mayavad philosophy. So we visited, that place, and we had some kirtans there. And then we also visited actually the Bhajan Kutir, which is actually Suddha Bakula, the Bhajan Kutir of Haridas Thakur. Of course, it's a very special place. It's a very, very special place. And of course, we also visited the Samadhi of Haridas Thakur. So some of the important places we visited in Jagannath Puri. It was a wonderful yatra. So I was thinking of the section between the discussion between Haridas Thakur and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the Antya Leela, the 3rd chapter, basically there is a section which discusses the glories of Haridas Thakur, and there is a discussion between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur there about the glories of the holy name. So when I was thinking about what verse can I take to start off with, inspiration from Haridas Thakur, I thought, okay, this is a perfect which describes Haridas Thakur. Machchitta madgata prana bodhiyanta parasparam katyantasya mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So we'll read this and we'll discuss something from Chaitanya Charitamrita also related to this particular verse. So yeah, Siddha Bakula is also a very special place. How many of you have visited Siddha Bakula before? Okay, there is a good number of you who have visited this holy place. So this is where actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested Haridas. Of course, Haridas Thakur is Namacharya, he is Brahma Haridas. He is the incarnation of Lord Brahma, and he actually chants 300,000 names every day, which is 192 rounds, and he doesn't do anything without first finishing his rounds. So this is where Siddha Bakula is the place, which is next to, I think, Kashi Mishra's home, and this is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested him, please stay here, because Haridas Thakur actually, of course, being born in a Muslim family, he is not allowed to enter into Jagannath Puri temple, but this is where he can actually see the chakra of the temple of Lord Jagannath. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested him, and he said, I'll make all the arrangements for you so that you can peacefully stay here and chant and do your chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And so to make sure that Haridas Thakur is very comfortable, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brings one of the used toothsticks of Lord Jagannath, which is offered to Lord Jagannath, and then he actually plants that in where Siddha Bakula is today, he plants that toothstick, and then miraculously it transforms into a huge Bakula tree. And so basically, the tree is there to give shade to Haridas Thakur, as Haridas Thakur is actually doing his bhajan. And I think more recently, when maybe a few hundred years ago, when they were actually looking for, generally, for the Rath Yatra festival, they need a lot of wood to actually build the carts. So they were looking for, wood to be cut so that they can actually build these carts. So they thought, okay, this is a good tree actually to cut. And one of the acharyas, I think, is it Gauri Kishore Das Babaji? Maybe it is, I think it's Gauri Kishore Das Babaji only. So so one of the acharyas basically said, no, you cannot cut this tree, because this is where actually, this is planted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. And, if you cut the tree, then, this is where Haridas Thakur actually chanted under this tree. And then he basically delivered, performed all different kinds of pastimes. So, but still, they were not convinced. And then they basically said, no, we will cut the tree and then we'll use it for the Jagannath, building the Jagannath Rath. But then, they went, and then they said, we'll come back the next day to basically cut the tree. But then when they came back the next day, what happened was the whole tree miraculously became hollow. So inside, the whole tree, of course, even the tree is there even today, the whole tree actually became hollow. And still, of course, the tree is alive, and it's still there. So that is so that's why it's called Siddha, because it's perfected, even though there is nothing inside the tree, but it's still alive because of the touch of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then when they saw that the tree is hollow, then they said, what is the use of this tree? We will leave this tree alone. We will not touch this tree. So we visited that place, Siddha Bakula, and then all the Vaisheshika Prabhu, gave a very nice class there. And then we also spent some time chanting, in the, near the tree, where Haridas Thakur, had chanted 300,000 names for so many years. So drawing inspiration, so let's read this purport, and then we'll also read a section from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the discussion between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur. So we'll read the translation. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Purport. Anybody wants to read the purport, like first paragraph of the purport? Any volunteers? Yes.
Pure devotees, whose characteristics are mentioned here, engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing Him with other devotees.
Yeah, this you can see, from the life of great devotees like Haridas Thakur. They are completely absorbed in chanting the holy names of the Lord and, discussing about the pastimes of the Lord. Of course, we all know the pastime, the famous pastime Haridas Thakur, where actually Ramachandra Khan, he sends a prostitute to try to deviate or to basically dishonor Haridas Thakur, and then he sends, because he is envious of Haridas Thakur's spiritual potency, because Haridas Thakur, chants 300,000 names every day, and then without fail, and it doesn't get distracted or deviated, before completing the goal of 300,000 names. So he becomes so, spiritually potent and attractive that people actually, they worship him. And Ramachandra Khan, being envious, he sends this prostitute to somehow deviate or distract Haridas Thakur. And then he thinks that, if he is distracted and then he is, he gets caught in the act, then he'll be completely dishonored. And then he'll be completely destroyed. So that was his scheme. So he sends this very beautiful prostitute. And then the way, Haridas Thakur deals with her, we all know the story. Now Haridas Thakur says, he doesn't get, generally, somebody comes to, deviate us, or somebody comes to disturb us. Sometimes, we get, at least, ordinary human being, I get very angry, right? Somebody distracts or disturbs, especially if I'm trying to focus on something. And that's, we have seen, from the past, many stages, like for example, Vishwamitra, in Ramayana, or in the, Vishwamitra actually gets distracted through various means. The first time he gets distracted by Kama, lust, by the tinkling bell of Menaka. That actually Lord, I think it's Lord Indra sends her to distract him from his spiritual practices. So he gets distracted by lust. And of course, then once he realizes, yes, I've gotten distracted by lust, of course, then he actually leaves her, and then he goes back to his penances, thinking that, how did I make this mistake? And then he is actually, performing his penances again, because his goal is to become a Brahma Rishi. That is his competition with Vashishta, because, Vashishta, told him, no, I cannot give you the common, cow. And then, so he's trying many different means, and then finally understands that he has to come to the level of, if he wants to be as powerful as Vashishta, then he has to become a Brahma Rishi. So he again goes to penance to become a Brahma Rishi. But the next time he gets distracted by anger. So next time, another, heavenly damsel comes to distract him, and this time he just burns her to ashes because of anger. And then again he, loses all his, tapasya, the power of tapasya, and then he again goes back to do that. Of course, that is very contrast to how Haridas Thakur deals with her, even though he knows that this lady is coming to actually bring me down. He doesn't get angry at her. Rather, he actually very humbly says that I have to finish my quota of rounds, and then I'll satisfy you after that. And then he chants the holy name of the Lord, and that takes almost the whole day, and maybe a few minutes left to get ready for the next day. And then the lady is waiting and waiting and waiting, and she is waiting for almost a few days, and Haridas Thakur just doesn't have any time for her. But because she is in the in association with Haridas Thakur, and then she doesn't have any even though she comes with the evil intention, when she gets purified and then she becomes a pure devotee herself. That is the power of Haridas Thakur's association. And that's what Srila Prabhupada writes here. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and the pastimes of the Lord. So procrastination has its use. So of course Vaisheshika Prabhu mentions it as delayed gratification. Right? So procrastination, we can apply procrastination. Not all procrastination is bad. Because procrastinating, devotional service is bad. But we can use procrastination in the right way, which is we can procrastinate sense gratification, as Haridas Thakur actually shows by his own example. And then he just delays it. He just says, let me finish my rounds and then I'll get back to you. And then but he doesn't have any time. So I think the lesson we can take is, if we fill our day with enough enough devotional activities, so that we don't have time for any other thing, then that's actually a very good program. So the same thing, of course, Haridas Thakur had a distraction externally in the form of the prostitute, but we don't have to have a distraction externally, because the distraction is right here, which is actually our own mind. So the mind, of course, when it's actually materially affected, it's like you can compare it like an enemy or a prostitute. Of course, Krishna himself says that the mind has two states. When the mind is actually materially motivated or materially affected, then it becomes the soul's enemy. And when the mind is actually devotionally surcharged, and when the purified mind actually becomes one's great friend. So in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bandhur Atmanatmatasya ena maivatmana jitaha. So mind can be one's friend or one's enemy. So depending on how we cultivate and train our mind, it can be our friend or enemy. So how is the friend? Basically, if it aids in our goal, if we have certain goals we want to achieve pure love for Krishna, we want to achieve pure devotional service. The mind aids in our goal, then it becomes our friend. But it distracts us from the goal, then it becomes our greatest enemy. So we have, something that we have to be wary about, how we actually deal with the mind. But if we deal with the mind, how Haridas Thakur deals with the prostitute, then we can, over a period of time, we can actually make it our own friend. So the mind comes up with a lot of ideas and suggestions. The chanting is boring. Let's take a break from devotional service. Why don't you look at this? Look at that. Let's watch something. Let's do this. Then, if you are able to practice telling the mind, I'll come to that. Let me just finish the vows that I have. Let me finish my rounds. Let me finish my reading vows that I have, and then I'll come back to you. Then we can easily actually, over a period of time, transform the mind into our own friend. Let's read the next paragraph. Any comments, any points you want to add? Any thoughts, any questions? Yes, Krishna Saka Prabhu.
I like the point of controlling the mind and delayed gratification. I was thinking about this point from a couple of weeks. Govind Charan Prabhu gave a class and he was saying that we can overcome the dualities by following the orders of the spiritual master. He was saying that mind, as you were saying, that mind gives so many ideas, but if we just follow the order of the spiritual master, then we can overcome the duality. And he was giving 2:14 and 2:15 that there Krishna says in 2:15 the amritatvaya kalpate, and I was also thinking about that how mind can be controlled. And I was thinking about the verse which Jad Bharat gives, that Hari Guru Seva, by doing the service to Lord and the spiritual master, one can control the mind. So that is so true, that mind gives so much distraction, but if I can just follow the orders of the spiritual master, then I can control the mind.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Very beautiful point. Thank you so much. Any other comments or reflections? Yes, Ekachakapran Prabhu.
So if we're making our mind into our friend, a friendship is a give and take, right?
Right.
We don't want to treat the mind like a servant and just force it, or else it might start to resent us.
Yeah.
So how can we develop that friendship in a healthy way with our own mind?
Yeah, that's $1 million question. Yeah, that's a great question. How can we actually make the mind as a friend? And of course, I just refer back to Lord Krishna's example in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Krishna actually gives the example of a rider who's actually dealing with a horse, or a trainer who's actually dealing with the horse. And then he compares the mind to that of a horse. And especially if it's a wild horse, of course, for all of us by default, we come up with a wild mind. So how do you train a wild horse and tame it, into a horse which is basically, listens to you and which basically follows the order and so on and so forth. So the process that Lord Krishna, it's a process that's followed. So Lord Krishna gives that analogy that a trainer knows that when he has to, as he's training the horse, he knows when he has to pull and hold the the reins, and when he has to release it. And if he pulls it too much, especially if it's not fully trained, then what happens is the horse actually rebels, and then many times it just basically throws the person off its back, and then the person actually gets injured. So similarly, Lord Krishna gives us example how we can train the mind can be compared to how we can actually how a trainer actually trains his horse. So one has to know how to pull and how much to pull, and when to actually release. And Krishna also discusses in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, he talks about what is actual piety and what is actual sin. And in that discussion, I'm forgetting the chapter, but in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says that actually Sve Sve Adhikari, when one acts according to the level that he or she is in, that is, he says, is actually piety. And when one deviates away from whatever level they are at, basically, we all have certain capacity, we are all at a certain level, we are all at a certain point in the journey of a devotional service, and we have certain tendencies and so on and so forth, and Krishna is very cognizant of that. And so if we act according to the level we are at, and very gradually and slowly, step by step, improve from where we are at, then Krishna says that actually is piety. And if we are not acting according to the level we are at, and actually we are degrading ourselves from that level, then Krishna says that is actually impiety or sin. So it's very relative. according to, so one needs to be more introspective. One needs to understand, their own strength and weaknesses, and accordingly, formulate a plan where they are acting according to the level they are in, and all the same time, very gradual, making some small gradual improvements towards perfection. I hope that helps. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes.
I was recollecting this Rishabdev pastime regarding the mind, right? There it is said that Nahiyasya Karihichit Sakyam. You should never make friendship with mind.
Right.
So you should always look at the mind as mother looks at the child.
Right.
I just want to share that.
Sure. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, of course, in the other sections of the fifth canto also, he talks about how the yogi is very careful with the mind and never actually, as much as a hunter is, even though an animal is caught, a hunter actually is still very careful and is very loose with the animal because the animal can escape at any time. Similarly, the yogi is also very, very careful with the mind, even though the mind is subdued and becomes one's friend. But, yeah. Yes, Prabhu, at the back. Behind Ekachakra Pran Prabhu, there is a person who raised his hand.
In the Bhagavad Gita, it mentions that the Lord asks sacrifice. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Like, what kind of sacrifice is he talking about, and like how?
So he talks about. Lord Krishna talks about sacrifice in many chapters in many different contexts. So he talks, for example. Do you know which chapter you're talking about or which context? Okay. So in the third chapter, Krishna talks about, yagyartano karmano netra loko yam karma bandhanaha. So he talks about, how Srila Prabhupada writes in the commentary, yagyo vai Vishnu. Everything has to be performed for, pleasing the Lord, for the sacrifice of the Lord. So that is one reference I can think about, and many, many references. Krishna says, Yat karoshi yad ajnashi yad juhoshi tadasiyat yat tapasyasi kauntaya tat kurushva madarpanam. So he says, whatever you do, whatever you give away, whatever you offer in charity, do it as an offering to me. The Lord talks about it. In the 18th chapter, the Lord talks about charity, penance, and sacrifice. And he says, how one should actually perform these. Even great souls perform this because they purify them. So, not sure what exact context you're asking this about, but if you can add some more to the question, then I can try to answer. And Krishna also says, Yagyanam japa yagyosmi. For all the sacrifices, he is japa, or chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So we all have to do some sacrifice in our life, whether we want to accomplish, material or spiritual goals. I think we are clear on that, right? So we have to perform sacrifices, even if material goal, you have to sacrifice a lot. Spiritual goals also you have to sacrifice a lot, but the thing is the ROI is, of material goals is zero. Ultimately, at the end, it all comes to a naught. But as far as spiritual progress is concerned, it's preserved. And so sacrifice is required to make any progress, whether materially or spiritually. And if we do it, if we engage with sacrifice in pleasing Krishna, then our life becomes perfect. I hope that helps.
So you mentioned training a mind is training a horse,
Right.
and you have to pull that lever and push that lever as well. My question is, how do we do that? Like, we know the plan, but I don't know how to implement that.
Yeah. So basically, one of the best ways to do that is to first, start chanting Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra, every day. So basically, the first point is that once Tamal Krishna Maharaj very nicely remarked. He said, before becoming Krishna conscious, first become conscious. So the first step is to become conscious, is to become self-aware. That I'm not this body, I'm not the mind, I'm something higher than the body and the mind. I have a body and a mind, but I'm actually higher than I'm a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. So the whole idea is to become self-aware, and of course that is the beginning of the process. And as we become more and more, as our consciousness becomes more and more elevated, then what happens is we become slowly we become start to become aware of Krishna, and that is actually the state of being Krishna conscious, which is the highest level of consciousness. So right now we are not even conscious. We are not conscious of what's happening around us. We are not conscious of what's happening inside of us. We can be in complete autopilot mode, just going about the day, doing everything, and not being conscious of anything around us. We're not being conscious of the sun rising, the sunlight, the blue sky. Of course, I have hardly seen blue sky for last 1 week in the Bay Area. So we can hardly be conscious in our lives. And the first step is to become conscious of what's. And so when we develop that awareness, being conscious of what's outside and what's inside, then we can also become aware of me and the mind. And one of the best ways to bring about all these, of course, to be conscious, to be self-aware, to have that clarity itself is actually it's a quality in the mode of goodness, which is sattva guna. There are 3 modes of material nature. There is sattva guna, rajas, and then there is tamas. And so one of the best ways to actually come to that level of awareness, clarity, and so on and so forth is to chant the holy names of the Lord. Srinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hirdayantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti surut satam nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati nashtrikyo. So the Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami Sutta Goswami is saying Srinvata Swakata Krishna. As we hear about Krishna, because Krishna is all pure. So when we do this chanting of the holy names of the Lord, we are coming in direct touch with Krishna. And Abhinatvam Nama Namino Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinatvam Nama Namino. So this the Padma Purana glorifies the holy name of the Lord. Purna Shuddho, He is all purifying, And then Nitya Mukto, the holy name is eternally liberated. Abhinatvam Nama Namino. So it's non-different. The holy name is non-different than Krishna himself. So as much as Arjuna had association of Krishna, we can also have association of Krishna through chanting the holy names of the Lord. And by chanting the holy names of the Lord, what happens is, because we are associating with the Supreme Person, the all pure, then we also get purified. And as we get purified of the lower modes of material nature, which is rajas and tamas, then it elevates us, at least, to sattva guna. And what to speak of that, it takes us even beyond that, which is Shuddha Sattva, the spiritual platform. So when we come to the sattva guna platform, then what happens is, when it comes to sattva guna platform, then what happens is, then things become very clear. We become more self-aware, we are very conscious, there's clarity, and so on and so forth. So then we can see, that, I am spiritual in nature, but, I have the push and pulls of the senses and the mind. And then I can actually see how they are acting, and I don't, have to respond to that. So that clarity, is that your question? Sorry, yeah. I hope that answers your question. That's how. So it's a process. So when we adopt the process of bhakti yoga, especially the chanting the holy names of the Lord, then automatically our consciousness is elevated, and then we are able to see for ourselves, the different things, and we are able to stick to our goals and not get distracted by the mind and the senses. Yes.
Yeah, it's similar to her question. Like, how do you control your mind? My question is in a different way. Like, how do you think positive? Like, it is similar, but how do you push all the negative thoughts out and focus towards your goals? I know chanting Hare Krishna or like Om Namah Shivaya is one way of controlling your emotions, but like in real life, how do you do that? By in parallel to your day-to-day life, like how do you control your mind and be focused towards your goal?
Right. I mean, these suggestions are for real life only.
Yeah.
They are not for. Of course, I understand. Where you're coming from, because it's a struggle. It's not easy. It's certainly not easy, because the mind and the senses, pulls and pushes us in so many different directions and harasses us. Actually, literally, they are. And. One of the Vaishnava saints talks about how they are like highway robbers. They just harass us at every moment, and then they give us no freedom. They demand so many things from us, and then makes us do all those things. And at the end, they give us no break. The mind and senses are harassing us in many different forms. And of course, that is the Krishna gives the example of a chariot. I don't know if they can pull up the picture here, but Krishna gives the example of a chariot, where the mind and the senses are the horse and the reins, and the driver is the intellect, and then the passenger is the soul. So this is a very classical example that's given in the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna also discusses the hierarchy, of these indriyani parani ahur, indriyabhya param manaha, manasastu para buddhir, yo buddhi parasasaha. So he gives a hierarchy how the senses manipulate matter, and above the senses is the mind, which is a repository of all the inputs from the senses, and above the mind is the intellect, and above the intellect is the self, the soul. That is me. And but generally what happens is, this hierarchy is not established within our heart. We actually, instead of the mind and the senses following our dictation, we follow the dictation of the mind and the senses. And it has to be reversed. And the way we reverse it is, through practice. And by adopting the practices of devotional service consistently over a period of time, then we'll be able to experience the transformation for ourselves. Krishna says, Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitram Idamuttamam, Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam, Susukam Kartum Abhyayam. He says, when you take to this devotional practice, it says the transformation you can experience is directly perceivable. That's one part of the answer. The other part of the answer is, seek the company of people who have, controlled their mind and senses. So if we sadhu sanga, sarva shastra koi, lava matra sadhu sanga, sarva shuddhi hoi. So if we are able to get a moment's association with the perfected being, then that has a great influence on us. So if we keep, association. Association is very important. So, how do we stay track on our goal? Even though, we may have good intentions. Many times we have good intentions, right? Yeah, all of us have good intentions. But how many times we are able to translate those good intentions into actions? Right? I mean, newer resolutions. Right? I give this example always, By the time it's February or March, 80 to 85% of the new resolutions are down the drain. They are gone. Actually, people have forgotten it. And, probably the tendency nowadays is that, I don't have to take new resolutions because anyway it's going to go down the drain. So even if you start off with very good intentions, we can get distracted, we can get deviated, because between intention and action, there is emotions or feelings, which is actually the repository of the mind. The feelings, all emotions, desires, everything is situated in the mind. So between intentions and actions there is emotion. So sometimes, when we feel good, we get things done. We don't feel good, then we don't feel like doing anything. So we need to have a hold on the mind and senses. As a spiritual entity, Krishna says you are higher than the mind and the senses, and we need to recover our lost. Right now we have given over the whole power of attorney to the mind and the senses, and then we are acting as their servants. But it should be the reverse, where we are taking charge and we are, we are dictating to the mind and the senses. We are in charge. And one of the best ways, Krishna, Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita, the best way to control the mind is to chant Hare Krishna in all humility. In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada, the words, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, pramati bhalavadritam. So this is not a problem, this is not a new problem. Arjuna also says the same thing in the Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago. He says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, pramati bhalavadritam, tasya aham nigraham manye vayorevasha dushkaram. Says controlling the mind, Krishna, is very difficult than controlling the wind, controlling the raging wind. So how many of you can control the raging wind? So controlling the mind is even more difficult. And then Krishna actually gives the answer. He says, how does the word start? Yeah, Abhyasena, but how does it start? Asamshayam mahabaho Shri Bhagavan vacha Asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagayana chagriyate. He says, yes, Arjuna, it's undoubtedly it's very difficult to control the mind, but it's possible by suitable practice and detachment. And one of the powerful ways by which, there has to be a process. So it's not a one-time, it's not some adjustment, it's not a one-time thing. It's a process. And so that is the bhakti, this is the devotional process. And the best way to learn this process, the best way to be sustained in this process is to keep company of those who actually are in the process and who have actually conquered the mind and senses. Actually, you can meet many devotees here, and you can see from their symptoms, that they have actually conquered their mind and senses by practice for many, many years. And when we get their association, when we are in their company, then we get the inspiration to actually follow the process and also gradually make those improvements. I hope that. So the key is association. So keep yourself in good company and spiritually inspired people, and you'll be able to gradually make headway towards that goal. I hope that helps. Hare Krishna. Any other comments, questions? Well, I think it became a mind control class. But thank you. It's all very, very relevant questions that we all go through, actually. In fact, I remember my spiritual master, he was asking one of the devotees, how are you doing? Because he was visiting and he was meeting him, and the devotee was telling him that, well, I'm struggling, Maharaj. And Maharaj said, that's good. Because when you're struggling, then you know that you're making some effort. So there will be struggle, but if we are in the association in good company, then we'll be able to attain success for sure. So let's read the remaining purport. Can anybody wants to read this section?
Yeah. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection which is exhibited by the Lord in His abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them there are few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahma Jyoti effulgence on the spiritual sky.
Yeah, we can just take a pause there, but you get the idea. Lord Chaitanya, how he actually, we get the seed of this bhakti, and then we can water it by chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, and that is the yoga dharma. The yoga dharma is actually, we can attain all perfection. Of course, the Srimad Bhagavatam says, Kaler doshini de rajan, astihi eko mahan gunan, kirtanad eva krishnasya, mukta sangha param rajadvi. I mean, Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. And rightly so. I mean, we all get overwhelmed, many times, because the effect of Kali Yuga is, it's so obnoxious actually. It's full of faults actually. But then there is still one good quality in Kali Yuga, which is actually chanting the holy names of the Lord. And one can attain all perfection by this chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So it's a very sweet process actually. Of course, there are different processes that's recommended in different age, but the process of Harinam Sankirtan is what is actually recommended in this particular age. And it's very joyfully performed. Like for example, one of the reporter, asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you're dedicating all your life, just to Krishna consciousness, to basically doing devotional service. What if after you die, you find that there is no Krishna? Prabhupada said, well, Prabhupada, hypothetically, he just took that argument and he said, if there is no Krishna, still we had a good life. We chanted, we danced, we feasted, we had a very good time. And then Prabhupada turned the question around and I said, what would you do if Krishna is there? So it's a very joyful process actually. In the previous yugas, it used to be so cumbersome. You had to go, live in a secluded, and especially people following all the other forms of yoga, the Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and it's very, very, very hard, and it's not, it's not for the general populace. It's only for a few tiny percentage of people who are very, very determined and who are very, very, who are very, very determined for spiritual perfection. They live in secluded places. They meditate for many thousands and thousands of years. I mean, we see the story of Vishwamitra. He was meditating for tens and thousands of years, multiple times, every time after getting distracted. I mean, look at the power of determination he had. So, and who's going to do all those things? I mean, nobody has, any interest. Forget about, following this, very, and it's not easy also to renounce everything and to abstain from everything, to be restrained. It's not so easy. But then what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has introduced, especially in this age of Kali, is the simple process, but very sublime process of chanting of the holy names of the Lord. That's why Lochandas Thakur says, Parama Karuna Pahudvijana Nitai Gaura Chandra. They are so merciful. They're the most munificent incarnation. Why? Sabhavatar Shara Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. Bhajo Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Suhrida Vishwasa Kori. So he basically says, they've introduced very, very simple process but very joyful process. You don't have to go stand on one leg, not eat, restrain from eating and this and that, fast, So this very simple process is very joyfully performed, which is the process of Bhakti Yoga or devotional service, starting from the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. It's very, very joyfully performed, and that is due to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's not at all, the process itself is not austere. The process itself is very joyful. And by the simple process, we can attain all perfection. So that's there's 10 more minutes. Any other questions or comments? Or I thought we'll read a section from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a very beautiful section where there is a... So if you can go to Antya Leela, 3rd chapter, verse number 49 or 50. But yeah, you can just go to the chapter view. Antya Leela. It's Antya Leela. No. Prabhu, you are in Adi Leela. I think you have to go to Antya Leela. I mean, both of them starts with A. The 3rd chapter, the Glories of Srila Haridas Thakur. So if we go to text number 30, we can read few verses before we conclude our discussion for today. Text number 49. I think 49. No, it's not 149. It's, yeah. No, you can go to the chapter view only. So this is actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meeting, and this is where the glories of the holy name are discussed. So text number 49. Anybody wants to read? Any volunteers? You want to read the text? Yes. Yes. Mic for Ekachakapran Prabhu. Okay, I will read it. Maybe Krishna wants me to read it for my own purification. So one day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Haridas Thakur as usual, and in the course of discussion, he inquired as follows. So there is a discussion between Haridas Thakur and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. So text number 50. My dear Thakur Haridas, in this age of Kali, most people are bereft of Vedic culture. And therefore, they are called Yavanas. They are only concerned with killing cows and they are concerned only with killing cows and Brahminical culture. In this way, they all engage in sinful acts. Yeah, so this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talking about the culture of this modern world. It's without any Vedic culture. It's full of faults, and it's filled with people who are actually killer of the cows and the Brahminical culture. Basically, it's filled with people who are materialistic, who are against any spiritual process. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually asking Haridas Thakur, how can these people be delivered? Kali Yuga is filled with all kinds of people like this. And then, so how will these Yavanas be delivered? To my great unhappiness, I do not see any way. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, he's a Supreme Lord himself. He inaugurated this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He's Krishna, but in the mood of his devotee. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared 500 years ago. So he is expressing his great unhappiness. And you can see how you can understand the heart of Mahaprabhu. He actually wants to deliver everyone out of great compassion, but then he is very, very unhappy because he is, of course, as a Supreme Lord, he knows what needs to be done, but then he is asking this question to Haridas Thakur, how can everyone in this Kali Yuga be delivered? They are all running behind AI and and they're running behind money and mansions, and they're running behind all these things. Of course, we are not against AI. It was just a joke, actually. AI can be used in Krishna service as well. So it has its good use cases. So everybody is basically, they have forgotten the real spiritual essence. They have forgotten the spiritual goals, and they are all running behind material gains and materialism in general. So Mahaprabhu is very worried. How can I deliver, all these people? And then Haridas Thakur responds. So this is how a devotee acts. They see. So that's why, ISKCON is a education. It is, I always say this, how it's different from other Hindu organizations because we are a missionary movement. We are an educational movement. We share knowledge, this transcendental knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, because we share the spiritual message. We not only engage in deity worship in Pancharatrik, following strictly the Pancharatrik Vidhi, we also are a missionary movement. We share the spiritual wisdom with others so that we can uplift, we can be instruments to uplift the whole humanity, and we can actually assuage Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's anxiety. I mean, what a glorious job profile, right? You want to assuage Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's anxiety, that is one of the, please join, the Hare Krishna movement, the ISKCON movement actually. So, this is the heart of a devotee as well. Yes, I don't want to see my Lord unhappy. I want to see my Lord being happy. So the devotees of the Lord actually take a lot of, they take a lot of hardship and sacrifice to basically lessen the anxiety of the Lord. And that's why we are a missionary movement, because we want to spread this auspiciousness to all over the world and fulfill the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, coming in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. So Haridas Thakur replied, "My dear Lord, do not be in anxiety." So this is how a devotee acts. They want to serve the Lord and please the Lord and lessen the anxiety of the Lord. Do not be unhappy to see the condition of the Yavanas in the material existence. Now Haridas Thakur will glorify the holy name. He says, because the Yavanas are accustomed to saying Haram, Haram, they will be very easily delivered by this Namabhasa. A devotee in advanced ecstatic love claims, "Oh my Lord Ramachandra, oh my Lord Ramachandra." But the Yavanas also chant Harama, Harama. Just see their good fortune. Namacharya Haridas Thakur, the authority on the chanting of the holy name, said, the chanting of the Lord's holy name to indicate something other than the Lord is an instance of Namabhasa. Even when the holy name is chanted in this way, its transcendental power is not destroyed. So, of course, we know a certain, a certain sect of people, they say Harama, Harama. But then here, Haridas Thakur is glorifying the spiritual potency of the holy name. Of course, the holy name can be chanted at 3 levels. This is also discussed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is Namaprad, there is Namabhas, and then there is Shuddhanam. So even if one chants the holy name at the level of Namabhas, which actually the Bhagavatam talks about, there's an example of Ajamila. Ajamila actually chanted the holy name in Namabhas. Even though he was not directly referring to the Lord, he just chanted the holy name Narayana because it happened to be his son's name, and he was not even referring to the Lord, he was actually referring to his son. But the holy name, irrespective of it is so powerful that it acts. And like Prabhupada gives the example of how the fire, whether you are in knowledge or not, when you touch the fire acts. So similarly, the holy name is also so glorious, it's so powerful that, of course, when one chants the holy name in Namaprad, where one is committing offenses, that is in a class by itself, so we'll not go into that. But when one chants in Namaprad, then the effect of the holy name on us actually is very, very minimal, or it's very, very minimized. It doesn't have a full effect on us, and there are 10 offenses to the holy name. But then the middle level, which is the clearing stage, is called as Namabhash, where they are chanting the holy names without any offenses to the Lord. Actually, it is so powerful that it actually clears out, all the sinful reactions that the person has committed. It's so powerful. And Ajamila, in a story in the Bhagavatam, actually he chants Narayana, his son's name, without even referring to the Lord. But the Acharyas, wonder how, they rhetorically ask the question, how is that, the holy name is having its effect? Basically, he is he's in bad association, and he's calling out his son's name. The reason being that he didn't commit the 7th offense to the holy name of the Lord, which is actually to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. So Ajamila, when he chanted, he didn't chant to counteract his sins. That was not his intention. He was just helplessly crying out in dependence of the Lord. And so the holy name, it became a Namabhasa platform, And because it became on the Nama Balasa platform, all his sinful reactions immediately got wiped away. And immediately he had the association of the Vishnu Dutas. So anyway, we just have a minute here. To summarize, the holy name is so powerful. So please, and Kali Yuga we have a dispensation in that you don't have to go to the Himalayas, stand on one leg, or as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you have to close your eyes, half close, and then stare at the tip of your nose. That's the Ashtanga Yoga process. You don't have to do all those things. All you have to do is come into the company of devotees, take advantages of this auspicious process, and take to the chanting of the holy names. Then all of us, even though with so many so many disadvantage in this yuga, is just a completely weird age. So many disadvantages, but still we'll come out on top if we hold on to the shelter of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we will conclude the session here, and so the next part of the program is we'll have an Aarti ceremony now. So we will all get up, and then you can put the asanas in the back or the storage place, and then we'll get ready for the Aarti. So thank you for your kind attention. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namah Vishnu Padaya Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesa Shunyavadi Paschapya Desakarine Namaste Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Govinda 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 Jaya Jaya Gopal Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Sri Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jayo Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Jayo Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Shri Katha Madan Mohan, Subha Sandhya Aarti ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol. Thank you. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajak Charya Story Sudha Shri Srimati Divine Grace Avachanaranda Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sab log, everybody can sit down and pay obeisance to the Lord. अनंतकोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की, श्री वृंदावन धाम की, नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की, श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की, गंगा मैया की, जमुना मैया की, भक्ति देवी की, श्री तुलसी महारानी की, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की, जय गुरु ब्रह्मानंदे हरि हरि।
Namaste, 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 Pahe Narsimha, Hridaye Narsimha. Pahe Narsimha, Hridaye Narsimha. Narsimha Madhim Sarana Prapade.
Shri Lakshmi Narsingadeva ki, Prahlad Maharaj ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Before we proceed to the announcements, we just have a request. There's a white Toyota RAV4 parked in the parking lot. If that's your car, I think it's 9KVZ, the first letters on the license plate. If you could please move it, because we're going to serve prasadam in the lot. Anyways, thank you very much for coming for today's Sunday Feast program. We'd like to first thank His Grace Sundarananda Prabhu for giving today's class. Next, we'd like to thank His Grace Radha Vallabh Prabhu for leading a melodious kirtan. And Amira for leading the Nrsingadev prayers. By a quick show of hands, do we have any devotees coming here for the first time visiting ISV? Hare Krishna Mataji. Haribol. We have a couple devotees here. Welcome, welcome. Any Prabhus? Wow. Hare Krishna, welcome. Thank you for coming. We're very, very glad to have you here. We hope to see you again more often. So if you have any questions, please reach out to Shri Gopal Prabhu here or myself, and we'd be very glad to help you. We'd also like to thank Charinimai Prabhu for bringing us today's online broadcast and all the devotees who joined us from the streams online. Haribol. We have 3 sponsors for today's feast. First, we have Balmukunda Prabhu and Mukta Mataji, who are sponsoring on the occasion of their daughter Bhumi's birthday. And their son, Balaram. Sorry. Keshav, sorry. You want to say
something? Thank you, devotees, we seek your blessings and prayers for the first birthday of Bhumi. As it said that it takes a village to grow kids. I think ISV is that community, that village where kids can grow their Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Shigopal Prabhu has your gift. Next, we have Niral Prabhu and Khyati Mataji, who are also sponsoring today's Sunday feast. Niral Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. The sponsorship is on for our marriage anniversary that happened, I think, about a couple of weeks ago. And please bless us so that we are in serving Krishna and together and get your association. And we are still here because of everyone's blessings. So thank you so much.
Does Mataji want to say anything?
Thank you everyone for the blessings for our anniversary, and it's also going to be my Prabhu's birthday on Wednesday, so we request blessings for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji Prabhu, and congratulations on your anniversary and happy birthday, Prabhu. Haribol. Our third sponsor is Karthik Shenbagamurthy, who is sponsoring today's feast. Karthik Prabhu, are you here? All right, we'll still honor him for his sponsorship. Thank you, Karthik Prabhu. We have another anonymous sponsor for the spiritual well-being and good health of this sponsor. So we pray to their lordship, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan and Lakshmi Nrsingadev, for the health and well-being of this sponsor. Thank you. Haribol. Next, we have Madhav, who's going to announce the wonderful team of cooks who have prepared the feast for us today.
Hare Krishna, the cooks for today were Siddha Katha Prabhu, Suvarna Gopika Mataji, Meghavi Mataji, Saili Mataji, Smita Mataji, Sudevi Saki Mataji, Neha Mataji, Agit Arjun Prabhu, Bikram Prabhu, Anil Prabhu, Rajiv Prabhu, Remuna, Keshav, Suraj, and Nitai.
Thank you, Madhav. So this is a wonderful Ekadashi feast, which we welcome you all to partake in. Prasadam will be served outside. You can either go on the left side for a ready-made plate or on the right side line for a custom plate. Thank you so much for joining us today. After Prasadam prayers, please come take Prasadam. Haribol. Would you like to sing?
Sharira Vidyaja Jorindriya Tahikar Jive File Vishaya Sagore Tarmade Jivayati Lobha Moy Sundurmati Take jita katina samsare Krishna bhajo doyamo Kori bare jivaja Swaprasadana dilobha Seyanamrita pao Radha Krishna Guna Gao Preme Dhako Shri Chaitanya Nita Preme Dhako Shri Chaitanya Nita Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave Svalpa punyavatam rajan vishvaso nevajayate prasade sarva dhukanam hanirasho pachayate prasanna chetasoyashu buddhi paryavashishtate tvayopa bhukta shraganda vasulankara charchita kuchishta bhojino dasa stavamayam jemahi shuksham paryushitam vapi नीतं वादुरदेशतः प्राप्तिमात्रेण भोक्तव्यं नात्र कालविचारण न देशनियमस्तत्र न कालनियमस्ततः प्राप्तमन्नं धृतं शिष्टैर्भोक्तव्यं हरिरब्रवीत्. Bhagavad Shri Mahaprasadam ki. Please come take prasadam. Hare Krishna.